to a new episode of She's in a Pod.
Yes.
And we're back in the studio.
We are back.
Yeah.
Can you see the lights? Can you see the vibes? Can you hear the crispness?
Yeah. And you can't feel it, but we can feel it. The presence of Brent. We miss that presence. We're back in the studio after, I think the last time was the end of October.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Yep.
So
yeah,
we back.
And it wasn't even here, wasn't it?
No,
Shoreditch.
the last time we were here, I think it was like September or something.
Yeah, it's been a while, basically.
It's been like 6 months. So
it's
been
been
nice
recording virtually.
It's been.
Which people have been loving though.
Yeah, you guys are loving the visuals.
You guys have said that, you know, the visuals are nice. You keep asking us how we're doing it. And yeah, I mean, Zoom we've tried.
It's a headache. I know we've been giving Brent a headache too.
Oh my gosh.
He's even agreeing with us.
It's been stressful, but you know.
But it's made us more creative, I think.
No, it has.
And we've had to like think out of the box.
But I think that's in general with COVID in general. It's allowed people to become. They're forced.
Yeah.
To be
So come out of your comfort zone. You have to find a new way to achieve what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get straight into this episode.
We haven't even introduced ourselves.
Oh my God, we have.
Hi guys, I'm Sade.
Listeners.
Oh, Shay.
If you're new here, hi, I'm Sade or Sade, whichever one floats your boat.
Gonna keep it simple today. I'm Bianca. Hey girl. Or guy if you're watching.
And I am Jenny.
Yes, and this is She's in a Pod. Yeah, so the safe space for millennial women, and we hope you have enjoyed our content throughout quarantine because we've genuinely tried. We've tried our best, but it's glad to be back together now and just to be able to feed off of each other's energies.
Yeah,
so,
it makes a difference.
Exactly. So this episode is a nice and sweet and short one, and we've never done this before. We've been wanting to do this since we started, but you know, we
just
had to build the audience.
Yeah,
I don't know what we were thinking.
More dilemmas.
Exactly.
Yeah, honestly.
So we get a lot of like questions in our inbox, DMs, email sometimes. So we thought we'd turn it into an episode, and we've cultivated a few. I think we've got 3 that we're gonna read out, and then we'll give advice and just share our opinions on it. So first email. Shada, you're up first, aren't you?
Okay.
So let's see what we have.
The first one is, my friend has a really good sense of humor. However, sometimes, this is coming from a girl, by the way. However, sometimes his joke involve making fun of others and even me sometimes in inappropriate ways. He points out physical flaws or looks for something weird or odd about a person and then makes like a joke, makes an unkind comment. And I feel a bit uncomfortable when he does this. What do I say? We're really close. We are good friends. Do I say something or just laugh along with him?
Say something.
Say something. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're really close, I feel like there should be that, boundary where you're like, listen, this is not cool. You're making fun of me. It makes me feel this type of way.
What about if he says, "Oh, it's just banter, man. Why are you being weird for? Why are you looking?"
It sounds very secondary schoolish. Not even secondary to point out someone's like a flaw, or as you see it as a flaw, anyways, and then like make fun of it.
And the thing is, there's a difference. Like with my friends, we banter all the time, right? And so, I mean, you've got to know like what everyone's limit is as well. So there's certain things I'm just not going to say because I know that's their insecurity. But then sometimes I'm like, people they're like, "Oh, Jennifer, you've got googly eyes," and I laugh along with them.
And also it depends on who you are. Like if I'm not that close to you and you're laughing about something that makes me uncomfortable. The thing is, I do agree with you, by the way, that I definitely think say something because especially men, they're quite narrow-minded and sometimes they can't really think out of the box and they can't really some of them kind of lack emotional intelligence and they may not be able to understand your body language in terms of your reaction into what they said, so they might think it's fine, it's banter, but until you actually say something to him to let him know that I'm not comfortable with this, they won't know. I had a friend that used to do that as well.
Men when they're in the company of other men, like they do that a lot.
I don't know,
boost their ego.
And it's not like I don't know, because when guys get together, I'm not generalizing by the way, but just for an example, when guys get together and they just, you'll notice like that they banter a lot and they'll make fun of each other, and there may be underneath, like someone may actually take what someone said to heart, but the way it seems from the outside is that they're just all having a laugh and they could actually go quite deep. But I think women are a bit different because obviously if we go deep, I'm not trying to go too deep, but if we go further, women are kind of made to feel more aware about the way they look. So of course that's gonna hit closer to home when someone makes a comment about their physical appearance. So I would say something, and it's important in adult relationships, especially to set boundaries. And it's difficult because when you're like you have history with someone, you're close to someone, you don't want to put a spanner in the works.
Yeah, you don't make it awkward.
Exactly. But I do feel like if he can't respect your boundaries, then you're gonna need to reevaluate really because the thing is you're gonna mature. I don't know how old you are, but you're gonna mature, you're gonna get older, and as the older you get and the more life you experience, you're gonna change and you're gonna have more boundaries in place. So if they have a difficulty with this boundary, it's just for me that's just a sign of what's to come in the future. Do you know what I mean? It may not be exactly the same situation, but you're gonna set boundaries if you get married or if you have children or if you get a new job, or there's always gonna be boundaries set in place and changes. So I think it's a good exercise for the friendship, for you to say what you need to say. And if you don't know what you're going to say, write it down first. And then,
I think it's really important as well. And sometimes the other person, like he might not actually know that this is hurting you. And I've done that as well in, certain situations where I've held things in and I've not told the other person. And then, at the end, I blow up and they're like, oh, why didn't you say something?
They weren't
so the longer you leave it on for, the more he might just be not knowing how you're feeling, not knowing how what he's saying is causing this reaction from you. So definitely say something now. If it burns the bridge between you and him, then you know where your friendship lies. But if you're both, if he's also mature enough to understand like this is hurting you, then I think that's the best way forward.
That should be his priority. Like
one
of the priorities of the relationship, anyways.
And I just feel like making fun of people's appearances, that shouldn't be a joke. Like that shouldn't be the basis of any type of joke. I don't like. It shouldn't even be banter.
Made it very clear that they actually enjoy when someone does that, or when they. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen, but it's never going to happen. But
it happens in friendships, right? That's natural,
you know what I mean? But unless someone's actually made it very clear that that's something that they don't mind. But then that's
does it happen in friendships though? I don't make fun of my friends' appearances, or like if something's off. That's just me personally. Maybe I'm just not the type of person. That's just not my kind of banter.
I think that it all depends on how you communicate as friendships. Because the thing is, as much as like you may not. It's the delivery. So I have banter with my friends, and sometimes we may say things that may sound harsh, but we say it in a banterish way. That's just because of our communication, like the way we learn to communicate with each other, and we both made it very clear. We've all made it very clear that we're comfortable with that type of communication. So I think it just depends on the boundaries, on how you choose to communicate with your friends. Because the thing is, like Jennifer said, if you don't say, they won't know. And if for that whole time he's been making fun of other people and making fun of you, and you've laughed, or he's gonna think, oh, this is what she likes. She's okay with that. She would do that too. So I think when you don't say what your boundaries are, you don't say that you don't like it, that person will always also accept that they think that that's you also. That's a part
and
of
they'll do it to others as well because they think it's cool. But so I guess the summary is speak to your friends, let him know that you're not cool with it. And see how he responds, and that will tell you everything you need to know.
Defo.
Over to you, Bianca. What's the next one?
So I got one. I haven't heard this in ages, so and I know you guys haven't heard this one yet. So dilemma. When I got into a relationship with my man, who is now my ex, he was in a relationship. We were together for 3 years before I found out he cheated on me with the ex he left me for. Okay, yeah. We've been broken up for over 3 months. He has been trying to get in touch with me, but I've been avoiding him. This is making me laugh. Sorry, guys. This week, he showed up at my workplace. He walked up to me, got down on a knee and proposed in front of my work colleagues.
What?
I said yes to him, although I wanted to say no and spare him the embarrassment. Now, I do still love him very much. However, we are both in no position to be thinking about marriage, particularly not me. I have thought about giving him another chance, but there are so many questions racing through my head around him cheating on me with his ex. First of all, how do I tell him I don't want to marry him? And secondly, should I give him another chance?
Sorry, can I just clarify? So they were broken up?
Yes.
And then he came back to her workplace to propose. Yes. Was there anything in between?
No, she just says anything. But the thing is, what stands out to me about this year is that she says, it's the first few lines that are the most important to me. When I got into a relationship with my man, which is now my ex, he was in a relationship.
And that's what I want to unpack. That's the first problem. So that's the first problem here. So I've I've been through similar, not this extreme at all, but my first like proper relationship. Obviously at the time I didn't know this, but I later found out when we were together that he was still in an entanglement, let's say, with his ex when we got together. So knowing that, I should have just left, because that's already, I feel like the same way you get a man is the same way you're going to lose him.
Yeah,
we see the pattern so much. I don't know why women keep thinking they're different or they're going to be the one to change the man. Like, you're probably not. That's just the sad reality. And later, the exact same thing. He ended up cheating on me with someone else. They ended up together. I don't think they're together anymore, but yeah, they ended up together. So it's literally a trend.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, so did she say she was 3 years into the relationship when she found out?
Yeah.
When she
was
found
3 years before she found out that he cheated me with the ex that he left me for.
Yeah, see, that's difficult because you're already, that's already 3 years of your life. Yeah, but I just feel like,
but
are
how
you
do
going to
you go back
leave
after
him?
3 years?
Yeah, or are you even going to leave him after 3 years?
Difficult. I think that first of all, the most important thing is to be humble in your approach, because I don't know. This is not me talking to the person who sent this, but in general, I feel like sometimes women who women who end up being with a man who was, who they were cheating with. I don't know. They have this cockiness about him. They're like, I got him, he's mine now.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just, like Sade said, you are not exempt or invincible from that happening to you. Most likely, the way, if you lose him or if you find out, do you know what I mean? It will be because it's the same way you got him. I feel as though so put that aside. I also feel as though him coming to your workplace and doing that, I feel like it kind of shows a bit of disrespect in a way.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It's not impressive.
It's not impressive, and I feel like it puts you in a weird position. Like, we would do that in front of your colleagues. These aren't your friends. These are your colleagues. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe he knew that would have put you in an awkward position and that you wouldn't have been able
almost
to say.
like forcing your hand.
Exactly.
It's almost
So
manipulation,
actually. I do feel like it's a very Derek Jackson thing. Very manipulative.
Oh gosh.
Do you know what I mean, sis? And so I do feel like you're just gonna have to be honest. Like, I understand how you're feeling now about it in regards to not trying to figure out how you're gonna say that you don't want to marry him, but you need to stop thinking about the present and think about the future.
Yeah.
Because before you know it,
absolutely.
Sissel, you'll be on Say Yes to the Dress and you'll be walking down the aisle and you'll be in a toxic marriage 5 years, 10 years, you have kids.
Honestly,
and it's like, why get into something that was toxic from the very beginning? Like, as much as you don't want to admit it, your relationship was toxic from the start because of how it came about. We don't want to admit it sometimes, but how it came about, it was toxic. That's just
it was. And it's sad that she found out so later down the line. And I know that with women, a lot of our fear is that, oh my gosh, it's been 3 years, it's been 4 years, it's been 5 years. And
have to start again.
Exactly. I'm gonna have to pick myself back up. I'm getting a bit older, biological clock is ticking. But at the end of the day, do you want to kind of trade that for a long-term sad, marriage full of sadness and probably more cheating and more confusion and more, sadness and being let down? I don't think it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
So it's worth having a break in engagement over a break.
You don't want to be on Instagram Live wearing a bonnet, telling people that it's the helmet of salvation.
Nah.
Just take your time with it. I mean,
it's so scary to see what some of these men do to women, and if you can avoid it,
and
please
to
avoid
try
it
and
at
justify
all
it
costs.
as well.
It's really scary, man.
So I just think that, she said, first of all, how do I tell him that I don't want to marry him? And secondly, should I give him another chance?
No. So Jen, you're going to say something?
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, a couple of things. Well, first of all, I think, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out, before he proposed, was there something going on?
It doesn't say.
If there wasn't, I don't think it really matters, but I think definitely tell him where you stand with the marriage.
Yeah.
I think you definitely have that leverage considering what's happened previously. And just also, you don't, like Sade said, you don't want to go into something that's toxic in the long run. And I feel like
it will be. Men hardly change.
It's been toxic from the get-go.
Yeah. It sounds like you still need time to process things, and these type of things shouldn't be rushed, especially when it comes to marriage, especially when it comes to such a big commitment. So, I always say, if someone's cheated on you, I mean, for me personally, I say this now, I wouldn't go back. But if you were to take somebody back, you really have to take a time. You need to make them work for it as well. A grand proposal in front of your colleagues, that's not it. That's not cutting it. Like,
that's manipulation.
It's not romantic.
It's not,
Because it's just like you're almost
romantic,
putting me,
no.
you're putting me in an awkward position, and you're
Probably the worst
also,
place ever.
and you're
Yeah.
you're also kind of making me like forcing me to
if I
actually
now
say
say
yes.
no, I look like the bad guy.
Yeah, you look like the bad person.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So she said, how should she tell
How
him?
should she tell him that she doesn't want to marry him?
Just
I don't
tell
wanna marry
him,
you.
you know.
Tell the truth and just say after everything that's happened that you need time to process this.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you're just going to say yes to straight away.
But
No,
also
I don't
be very
think she
clear.
should
Be clear
marry
that
him.
that it's not a thing, because sometimes because we don't want to let people down, we almost say it in a way that maybe in the future, like, be clear about what you want. If you feel like you don't want to marry him at all, make sure you say that very explicitly and don't say, oh, you know, maybe in time. Say very explicitly, this is not going to work for me, for what I see for myself and for what I want for myself. I don't see you fitting into that because of what we've been through, because of what you put me through, and me having a hard time forgiving you is gonna play a massive part in the relationship, and I don't want it to be.
And
I
you
don't
need
want
to be
it
able to trust them again.
100%.
Yeah, that's the
Exactly.
thing. And it's going to be a while to build up that trust, which is why I personally don't think you should even consider marrying him. I know, like, it's a lot easier said than done, and time and all of that, but I just feel like there are so many men out there that will cherish you, that won't put you through this, and I just don't. I feel like, you know, you shouldn't marry him, really. That's just my opinion, and you shouldn't. Yeah, especially I don't think she has children. I don't think she has anything that's tying her to him. So
Thank God for that.
why tie yourself to him when you have the choice? You know.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Last one. We've got one more. Last one.
All right. So this one's a long one.
Okay.
You got this like 2 days ago, innit?
Yeah.
A couple of days this week.
So, hi girls. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well if this email manages to find you.
Thank you.
I'm in a bit of an issue at home. I think it was a podcast I listened to of yours where you were talking about your mum and dad's, where you were talking about giving your mum and dad rent. And when I heard this, I felt reassured that I wasn't just in this boat. I know they are my parents, and I give them £300 of my income every single month. That is an important chunk in my own salary. And if I were to keep it, that would be amazing. But my parents treat it as peanuts. They've recently been asking me for more, an increment of £50, and I feel reluctant and panicky as I want to stick to my own spending budget. I feel that if this £300 isn't enough, why should £50 make a difference? I also think soon they'll be quick to turn around and say that it isn't even enough, and for me to give them another 50 and another 50, etc.
Yeah, so
This is what's happened in the past. I feel that if I don't put my foot down and give them what I'm comfortable giving, they will bleed me dry and I'll struggle too. My parents have handed me their scarcity mindset, which is why I fear giving people money freely. I don't even spend on myself. I know they're my parents, but at the same time, I feel resentment because I'm not on this earth to give my parents the luxury they want. It's not even sustainable for me to live the life I want. Where am I? The life I want to with my income, and I feel that this has added strain from them to earn more and be a better daughter towards them. They don't have any financial literacy or good money management skills, and I carry a lot of guilt around this from financial abuse. I don't really know what to do and would appreciate your advice. Am I being selfish?
Okay.
Wow.
I
remember when we recorded this episode.
Yeah.
And
that was one of our first Zoom ones.
And I think we definitely had like a difference in opinions. But I think what we definitely agreed on was that if you were to give money to your parents, pay towards rent or whatnot, it should definitely, it really depends on, you know, if you're working, what your circumstances are, what you're able to give. And there needs to be a balance between you maybe helping out your parents or paying your dues and all that kind of stuff, and also being able to live your life as you should. And I think, in my opinion, in this case, I think you should definitely have that conversation. I mean, I don't know what background you're from, and I know it's difficult, maybe coming from a African household, to have that sort of conversation with your parents, because
it's not even just African, it's black.
Just black in general, yeah. And I know that's difficult, but I think if you don't have that conversation, you're just going to end up paying more, adding more £50 to what you're already paying. But I don't know, it's quite difficult.
It is difficult
because I'm guessing she's,
especially when it's
you're
someone's
living-
family.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
This is the thing. I think we've been taught, not just black people, whatever, but we've been taught in general that if you are the dependent, you can't set boundaries. In the sense that if you're the person, like, so for example, if I go to someone's house and I'm a guest and I'm staying over, right? And they say to me, I'm having a bad day. You know what I mean? And they say to me, oh, we're having dinner at 6 o'clock. But I just don't want to because of what I'm going through a bad day mentally.
Yeah.
I need some time by myself to do certain things and to help me feel better. So having dinner at 6 o'clock family night is not going to be, but because we're in that guest house, we feel like we're obligated to do it.
Yeah.
We can't set boundaries because we're the dependent. We're the one that, do you know what I mean? We're the one that's being helped. So I feel like when it comes to, especially the children-parent relationship, we feel like that we can't set boundaries with our parents because we're the quote unquote dependent. We're the one that technically we need them in a sense.
Yeah.
Or even if we've moved out, they raised us, they did that for us. So because of that situation, yeah, exactly. So that dependent and relationship, we feel like, okay, we can't set boundaries for ourselves, and we're allowing our boundaries to constantly be pushed to the limit. So I personally feel like, to be honest, it's more than the money, because I know you want a certain lifestyle. I don't know how old she didn't say how she was.
She didn't say.
But personally, I've heard this sort of story so many times before. And I can say to you for a fact, the best thing for your mental health, because if it's not going to be money, it's like you said, it's going to go up and up and up and up. And nothing is ever going to be enough. The best way for you to get peace over the situation, and it sounds a bit counterproductive to be what I'm going to say, is to move out.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Or to work towards that. And obviously it may be hard for you because if you're given certain money to save money and stuff like that, but I am telling you, work towards moving out, because it's never, no matter how much you give them, it's not good. Unless you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
There's always going to be something. As long as there's you have a lot of spare expenses, right? And finances, it's always going to be something. Learn to move out, because the point is not just about money, it's about respecting your boundaries. And that's constantly going to be pushed. I personally feel like, it sounds like, well, how am I going to do that if I don't, do you know what I mean? But I feel like you should work towards it. Even if just a month you're putting aside a £50 for a deposit on a place or something like that. Working towards maybe hunting for a job that pays better. Work towards that, because I'm telling you, that's going to be the best way for you to be able to set your own boundaries for your life. Because it's going to be, even when you get older and older and older, they're going to keep pushing your boundaries. So, and like you said, financially, they haven't been very, like, their financial literacy hasn't been great. So even when you move out, that could still be pushed, but it's going to be a lot easier for you to say no when you're in your own space.
Yeah.
Personally.
I've also heard like some people saying that they don't actually tell their parents how much they earn. Because a lot of parents, just in general, they're of this mindset that, okay, we brought you to this country will provide much more for you than they, back home. Yeah. So even if you are working a corporate job, you should be a millionaire, you know? But I think that definitely consider the fact that sometimes you might not need to tell them everything, and just to lower that expectation that they have, so that they won't, feel like they need to keep asking you for money.
It's hard though.
It's definitely
setting the boundaries, because they could almost demand your salary, knowing how much you earn, because you live in their house. And that's what I was saying about
the moving out. As soon as you read that out, Jen, I was just thinking, I think you should move out for your peace, for your sanity, to show your parents that you're no longer a baby. Yes, you are their child, but you are your own person now. Yeah. One of my friends recently moved out as well. She didn't tell me the details, but I have a feeling it was probably something to do with that, because her parents, they have a house. It's not like she doesn't have space. She has her space, but it's probably because of that toxicity and that just that feeling a bit claustrophobic in your own home. And she's just moved out. She started renting, yes, that wasn't her plan. She wanted to get her own property. She didn't want that. But sometimes you have to put your mental health first.
Exactly.
And you'll get there eventually. It just take you a bit longer.
I'm just so not. Maybe because of how I've been raised, but for me, I just can't fathom when parents see their children as a pension plan or as a, why do I have to be...
But then it's also the way that they've been raised. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
parents.
As in,
Yeah, that's what I
as
mean.
well,
Maybe
it's
because
you only do,
you only do. So maybe their parents did the same for them.
Yeah.
And for me, because I have never ever experienced any money I give in my home has been voluntary. I've never ever. I'm 26. I've never been asked to give a dime in my family for anything. But as you grow, you kind of realize that, okay, yeah, let me just help out because you want to. Like, let me help out with this. Let me get this. Let me contribute towards this.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like parents should make you or tell you a certain amount to give them every month.
But is that talking from a place of privilege though? Because if not all parents have the luxury of being like, you know what, I don't even have to ask.
How are you surviving before the child was able to work?
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned it in the
last
previous episode as well. Especially in this country, because that question comes up a lot. Okay, so how were you beforehand?
Yeah, I genuinely just want to understand.
Circumstances change the older we get that we
100%.
sometimes don't know about.
Yeah.
For me, for example, my mum, you've got benefits and all that kind of stuff. Once you turn 18, once you leave education, that stops.
Yep.
A lot of that money, yes,
free travel that you used to get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of that money was meant to go towards the child, but unfortunately, because of their circumstances, maybe not having money, they were using that to pay the rent.
Yes, I remember
so
you
it
said
gets
that
a lot more difficult. And I think in my circumstance, I knew this. My mum was very transparent about it. She didn't ask me for money, but I saw that she was, struggling. So I thought, once I get a job, I'm going to put this money aside to pay towards rent or to help her out. And the more I've started earning, the older I've become, I've been putting more in. So in a way that is voluntary, but also I feel that I am obliged to do it because I see that circumstance. I can't live in a house knowing that I could help out. So
definitely.
I think it really depends on your circumstances, but I think people
100%.
should be a little bit more lenient towards parents who are actually struggling. Because I think there's a difference between those who are struggling and those who are taking advantage.
Yes, exactly. Definitely.
So,
And I wonder if the girl that sent us this email, if she's actually spoken to her parents. And if you haven't, sis, I would say maybe speak to them. I don't know what kind of relationship you have, but
that's the
speak to them maybe.
It seems like she has, because she said, the money has kept on increasing, like in the past.
But has she spoken? But has she spoken to them
had that
about the
conversation?
fact? About the fact that she's not comfortable and she's not comfortable with giving this.
And I think
month.
you need to what we're saying. I
mean.
think it's important to evaluate the situation at home. If you know that your parents can actually afford to do what they're doing and pay bills and stuff like that without your contribution, I think then it's a different like argument or different perspective, because it doesn't mean that, because I also think that contributing to a household brings in some good life lessons, if I'm honest.
No, for sure.
It does.
And
some parents do that just because they want their child to get into the habit of living that adult life and saving.
Some parents even
put money
take all that
aside
money
and they put it aside.
and then they give it back to you when you're about to leave.
I heard a story of a guy that was
whatever.
contributing rent to his mum, and he wanted to buy a property. The mum gave it all back to him. She had saved it all that time. So sometimes you actually don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
Which is why I say speak to them.
But then the way they do it, sometimes you'll get that, okay, maybe they're doing it because they're taking advantage or because they know exactly that as soon as I'm working, it has to go to them. And, sometimes I empathize with parents, especially single parents or parents that have struggled, because it's like, what else do I have to do? Now I have another adult in the house who is earning. This is amazing. I don't have to struggle as much as I've been struggling. So you're not thinking through a clear mind. You're thinking through the mind of, I finally don't have to struggle as much as I have been. And I understand when sometimes your actions and behavior dictates your actions or behavior. So I would say have the conversation with parents. If it doesn't go the way you thought it ought to go, then I definitely feel like you should work towards moving out. I don't know how long that will take, but I think eventually you will feel mentally so much better.
When you move out, obviously rent is very different depending on the area, but the money you're even giving to your parents could really contribute significantly to your rent anyway. So it's like either way you'll be in the same position, but at least this is doing something that's good for you.
Exactly.
So I hope that helps. If you have any more questions, let us know how the conversation goes. If you haven't, we'd love to have an update from you. That would be really good.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that
really good
episode.
one.
And if you guys have any, we don't really do it in a way of like we do it for specific episodes, but we just get random messages sometimes, depending on.
And sometimes we just reply in the DMs. We might just reply, or we bring it to an episode.
And sometimes it's on the back off of an episode. They've heard an episode and they want kind of
especially
further
the sex
advice.
one. The sex one.
You guys seem to like that one. one.
Yeah, that was a virgin one. That was actually a
Part
really
3 coming soon, maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
Lord. We'll see.
But yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of She's in the Pod. Even if you didn't send in any advice, we hope that you learned something through this episode. And this is all what we would do. You know what I mean? It's also, it's not like you should, but
yeah.
And, you can
and we
tell
have
that
very
all
different
have
experiences.
I was going to say,
We have very different experiences.
Exactly. So yeah, we hope it helped, and we will see y'all next week for another episode of She's in a Pod. Bye, girls.
Oh wait, leave us a 5
rating
on Apple.
How can we forget?
Podcast.
Yeah.
All right, bye
Bye,
guys.